We're live. All right, Capt Ron.
Oh,
What do you got for us
all
tonight?
right. Well, they're going to see some gobbledygook here because I'm looking for the PowerPoint slides here, and I got
We're
excited here.
seeing you in front of the slide, so that's a good sign.
Yeah. Okay. Welcome everybody. We don't know how this is going to go. It may be like old time radio. You may hear our voices and not be able to see the PowerPoint presentation here because all my notes are hidden here away. But anyway, welcome everybody to this week's edition of Fearless Flight Live. It's a little more non-standard than it is. Okay. Oh, somebody just said she can't see the video on Facebook, Dieter.
Um, all right. So where are they then messaging from?
I I don't know. It disappeared from view.
Well, why don't you continue and I'll figure that part out.
Okay. Well, we're going to figure out something here, folks. But I happen to be on the road in a hotel room, which is always interesting. Oh, Jody got it. Thanks. Okay, so she fixed her own problem. So I happen to be in beautiful downtown Burbank in a hotel, getting ready to fly with a client tomorrow, and it just necessitated me being away from my office. And normally I have another monitor, but I don't even have another monitor here. So woe is me. And I and my preference is to be able to, I put my notes, if any of you have ever done PowerPoint, you get your notes on the presenter screen. But haven't been able to develop a a method where we can either show you or show the notes at the same time. So I may have to just go over and you look at me and I just do the content from the looking at my screen and you get to stuck looking at me. So we'll have to see that in just a minute. We're going to make it up as we go, folks. And I am literally without words to say here. So with that, we want to welcome you, of course, everybody here, like we do every week. And this is Fearless Flight Live. It's a place that you go if you have flight anxiety or fear flying. It's a good place to go if you know somebody. And it's a place that you can go and just listen to what's going on in the aviation industry. And today, I put a lot of energy into looking at the Air India crash, not because we feel it's our duty to respond when something goes wrong in the industry, but because we want to try to help support you not lose it when something goes wrong in the industry. It's the safest way to travel. There are things that happen, and of course, the one in India last week was a real tragedy, and they're still sorting through that. But I have some current information here that I wanted to pass along to you, and you won't be surprised. But the focus is mostly on giving you some things that you can do to protect yourself. So. Okay, it doesn't say that I'm sharing. Stand by, dear. I'm going to
Yeah,
try
we see
to.
the PowerPoint behind you, Ron. So
I'm-
if you have a means to advance the slides, then we should
yeah,
be able to see that change behind you.
yeah. And the problem is I'm afraid I'm going to lose you, or you're going to lose that view when I go over to the presenter view, because there's no way I can get the presenter view up without um, without stopping the slides. The webinar, that's me. There's the slides. I don't know if you know what I'm saying, but let me.
No, all we see is you in front of the, our title, Fearless.
Yeah, yeah, and I've got that view down here. That's great. I'm just trying to get over where I can pull up the notes. So let me try one last
And
time.
Raquel, while Captain Ron is sorting out the technical ends here, um, we so Raquel has a question, and we'll address that a little later in the show.
Okay.
So stay tuned, Raquel.
Okay. Nope, that'll get me out of the webinar. my slides. And okay, I'll try one last thing. I'll see if I can open the PowerPoint and pull it up. Can okay, Dieter, are you still seeing the main screen?
Yep, I see it's unchanged. We see you basically in front of the Fearless Flight weekly live show main slide, the title slide.
Well, don't tell anybody. We'll pretend like nobody else saw us doing this. Welcome, everybody, to Fearless Flight Weekly Live Show. Guess who just figured it out there? So, yeah, this is the place you go if you got a fear of flying, you know somebody, or you're just trying to figure out what's going on in the airline industry. And hopefully, you're looking at our Birds of a Feather slide here, which is our reminder to tell you every week do not go another minute if you're not a member, and because it's free and you'll meet a bunch of other great people in there. Just did a coaching call as if I didn't have enough to do out here. I met a client here at the hotel, and we spent an hour just talking about his issues. And he was telling me what a great time he's had in the Birds of a Feather there, getting support and everything. And people tell me that all the time. So stick with us. And if when you go over there, whether you're watching this live or a replay, make sure you drop in and leave a message there for somebody. So tonight, forget about the special guest.
Well, we actually don't see the advancement in the slide, so we're still seeing you in front of
the main
in
one.
front of that title slide.
Okay.
So
And
nothing is advancing for us. We have 13 people watching.
gosh.
So if your thing doesn't work, then we can always offer plan B, and that would be me trying to share the PowerPoint, and you just keep going through the presentation.
Yeah, why don't you do that? I just because I'm advancing the slides here and you're not seeing anything there, correct?
Now I see the Facebook. I do see. Oh, now I see the Tonight Show topics.
So oh my gosh. Okay. All right.
So it seems like whatever you're doing right now, it's working. So
Yeah,
okay.
except it's the wrong presentation. Huh, it opened another one. Hold it. Don't give up on me.
Well, with all the technical difficulties, big shout out. Hey Gary, I thought you wanted to be called Flyboy from now on. Um, and also a big shout out to our Birds of a Feather members. I know there's been a lot of activity lately, and so thank you for all the support that is being given and all the support that is received. I know we're getting a lot of messages, people being very grateful. And Ron, let me know if what you want to do, because right now
Yep.
nothing is changing. You're still in front of
Okay. So let's see
the
if
show
this,
topic slide.
see if you see that one. Yeah. I had the wrong presentation up, and now I'm trying to get back to where I was with the
Oh yeah, you
with
actually also sent me the wrong one, because that's Inside the Skies,
yep,
US airspace.
that's not it. That is not it. Yeah, that's not it.
Well, while you are doing that, I do want to talk about the upcoming monthly group coaching call, our Cleared for Takeoff 201 webinar, and it's on June 19th at 6:30 Pacific, 9:30 Eastern. And this month we're only going to do the Thursday. We won't have the encore presentation on the Saturday. And we have a really powerful topic, but which really is gonna probably hit home for a lot of you, and it's we titled it "Inside the Skies: How U.S. Airspace and Air Traffic Control Keep Us Safe." And the reason we want to talk about that is, it's been in the news quite a bit lately. All the challenges with air traffic control and how crowded the skies are. And I know we were joking last week about how some airports still use floppy disks. And for the younger ones of you that are watching, that's a very old technology. Um, so we wanna talk about not so much what is not working, but how they are actually keeping themselves in check, so that when things happen, whether it's Newark or other situations, that your safety is the absolute paramount aspect of the air traffic control. So,
What are
Ron,
you
where
looking
are you at?
what are you looking at right now, Dieter?
I'm looking at the beautiful birds of a feather screen, and we're inviting anybody
Okay.
who is not joined yet to join the Birds of a Feather group. It's a free Facebook group. We're over 1,800 members currently. And if you haven't been accepted, probably because you didn't answer the membership questions or agreed to our membership rules. We're pretty protective of our group. So we do want you to acknowledge our rules for how to be supportive and nurturing in that group, because I know these days there are a lot of Facebook groups where that is not necessarily the experience that people have. Um, but I do want to come back um, to the monthly group coaching webinar for a second.
Yeah,
And
and I'm trying to put that on the screen to see if you can see that. Can
okay, there we
you?
go. Yeah, I see it. Yeah,
Okay, we're gonna we're
discuss.
just gonna we're just gonna we're gonna limp along, and
Okay.
we're gonna do our best. Okay, all right, and so that is it. Coming up on June 19th, as Dieter said, we're gonna look at give you an inside view. If you've got questions about how do we keep track of everybody up there, how do we know that we're not going to run into anybody up there? How do they organize it? What does it mean when they say that the system's breaking down and the computers are working and things like that? We're going to look at things like that. We're going to give you an insider's view of that, and so it'll be a great one to look at. June 19th at 6:30 p.m. Pacific. There will not be a replay on Saturday morning this time. So if you want to sign up or get the replay, make sure that you do so. And there's more about with the links, and Dieter will put those in there. So here, let's talk, okay? And I'll wing it. I'll use the notes that as I remember them. We want to understand. We want to make some sense out of this Air India crash and why flight anxiety is unwarranted when things like this happen. And that may sound preposterous at this point. So what do we know? So far, we know from the captain's last transmission that he issued a mayday, which is something that pilots do. They put it out over the airwaves to let everybody know that they're in distress. It gives us immediate priority listening to the radio and all that. And in this case, he said the what I saw the recording is lost thrust. And there's been some talk about the possible pilot error in the way that they handled the flaps retraction. The flaps are those leading edge and trailing edge devices, those thingies that stick out over the front and the back of the wings to make the physical area of the wing larger for takeoff and landing. It allows us to operate at slower speeds, and we do that for that reason. And what was noticeable, the airplane was only airborne for 45 seconds. It never got to a height of much more than 675 feet, I believe was the number. And so there was some talk about possible misconfiguration of that. The most recent thing that I saw, which is not incorporated in here, is that well, let me go through the cockpit voice recorder. What they found the things, and there's some analysis so far that says that they had some concerns about the power, but we don't know. We don't know whether the engines were really not running or whether they're running and underperforming or what. And the most important thing, and I've already been caught up in my own speculation here. I tell everybody don't speculate until you know what really went on. And then I got sucked into by a pilot video on YouTube, and I did just that. I made some prejudgments to a couple of people the other day, which I went back and at first there was some claims about double engine failure, and those double engine failures have been debunked by the PIB, which is the Public Information Bureau. I think that's the official news organization in India. So as much as it's hard to do, we got to wait for all of that. The part that I jumped into was a possible landing or was possible misconfiguration of the flaps and the gear. And there's been some other things that have come up that may have something to do with the power, that it did have to do with the thrust and vapor lock, kind of like what you might have experienced in a car. And you wouldn't think that would be an issue on an airplane. If it is an issue in this, I don't know of another case in my history in aviation that did that. So what do we know? We really don't know much, except a whole bunch of people perished, and we don't have a lot of information yet. 242 people, 230 passengers, 12 people, 12 crew members, and you can imagine that it went down in a populated area right off the end of the runway there, and there's not much room for airplanes to land at that point. Although there was incredibly, there was one survivor, and when this information went together, they didn't even know about him. Keep it in perspective. As I mentioned, it's too early to speculate on the cause. It shouldn't undermine your own confidence. It's 150 plus times safer than a car travel. We've been getting safer and safer and safer. So that's why when these things happen, they make us lose confidence, and they cause us to get stigmatized by the accident or the incident, and we lose perspective of how safe it is in general. Everybody's well trained, and the airplanes have a history of being technologically safe and sound, and so you just can't lose sight of that. I've had a number of people ask me about this, and what should I do? Hopefully you'll have a better perspective when we get done tonight. Okay, let's talk about the brain. We have a three-leg stool that we talk about, our fearless flight method. One is educating yourself about not only airplanes, but about your brain. There's some things that your brain does that you can't control. And one of them is speculating about what went wrong. And the worst thing about that is it causes your anxiety to spiral out of control. And another thing is something called confirmation bias. We focus on rare accidents, and it makes us think that air travel is more dangerous than it really is. And if I have an inherent belief that flying is dangerous, when something goes wrong, even if it's not in any way related to the safe operation of an airplane, maybe a mechanic makes a mistake when he's towing the airplane and dings the wing on a jetway or something, and I read an article in the paper about it, I'll miss all the other articles about how safe it is, and my brain will say, see, I told you, Ron, it's not safe to fly. So that's what confirmation bias is, and we fall victim to that in many, many ways. That's why we talk about the elephant and the rider, being able to distinguish. So the air travel, like I said, remains the safest way to travel. And while this crash is tragic, it's too soon to speculate. So you have to open yourself up to waiting for finding out what happened. They did find the flight data and the recorder and the cockpit voice recorder. Those are two incredibly important instruments that they'll be able to go back and piece together exactly what happened to the airplane. The flight data recorder is something that's evolved over the years as well. When I first started flying, there were only 7 bits of information, mainly heading, altitude, airspeed, vertical acceleration, and a couple of others. when we got the flight data recorder. Now, since everything is digital, now you can get upwards of 200 to 300 pieces of information about from the airplane as to what was going on. Talking about switch position in the cockpit, every little nuanced aerodynamic thing that you can talk about. So it's very, very, very important to get the two recorders out of there, which they did. It'll take time, but they will uncover what was wrong. And as we can, I'll be back in my home drome next week, and I won't have all these problems in showing you what's going on here. But we'll be able to update you as we go on.
Did
Okay.
I just wanna Ron, I just wanna jump in here because I actually answered this question on a chat. The 787, I can only speak for that because that's the one I researched. But that black box actually logs 146,000 parameters. So
Yeah.
if you think about your computer, and you think you have maybe a terabyte of storage on there, well, one flight is several terabytes worth of data being recorded every single flight. I mean, it's just crazy what is being recorded on a flight like that on a 787. So
That's an incredible point, Peter. It's just amazing. And, forensic, I've often marveled, one of the most popular series on TV. I mean, how many spin-offs have they made about the forensic shows uncovering crimes and stuff like that. But forensics and aviation investigation has been around for as long as I was a pilot, 50, 60 years, and before that. And I used to joke, they could tell what you had for breakfast when there's no remains. It's just unbelievable. And what Dieter just pointed out is exactly why that's getting better and better and better. And, when we have tragedies like this, and this was a tragedy, at the very least, we want to find out what happened so that we can ensure that it'll never happen again. And as I pointed out in the past, that's how we got so safe, because we have had accidents in the past. And we don't think about it often because we drive every day and we take it for granted, but we kill 40,000 people every year on the highways in the US alone. If we had the same kind of an analysis in post-crash investigation and changing our ways, we wouldn't kill that many people on the highways. But we don't have the patience or the stomach for that, because we don't kill that many people off that we know and are consciously aware of. So evolution and speculation. This is one of the most fundamental things about the human brain as it evolved was it began to look for patterns in the environment. So you go out, you slip on a banana peel, you immediately start looking around. Then the next time you fall, or the next time you go someplace, if you're in the same environment, you say, okay, I'm going to check for banana peels so that doesn't happen to me again. That's the good news about being human. The bad news is that now what happens in the wake of a crash like this, a tragedy like this, is now you're looking at everything out there. You're not just looking at the 787. You're not just looking at some of the things that have already been highlighted. You're looking at everything and you're questioning everything. Questioning is good, but with your elephant questioning, you need your rider to support you and use some logic and analysis. And that's hard sometimes. You're not alone out there. That's what we do at Fearless Flight. We have the Fearless Flight live show every week, and we love having you there. You can come here to get updates and support. You can get in touch with professionals who specialize in flight anxiety, like myself, like Dieter, your own therapist in your own community. And you can use tools like the Fearless Flight Harmonize to calm and distract yourself before you ever go out to fly. And the key is preparing and coming up with a plan before you fly. And for most people, that's an overwhelming task because it's too abstract. They think, what can I do to change the way I think? Well, you've got to practice thinking differently. Meditation and mindfulness is one way. And the other thing that I've come to grips with here in the last year or so is telling people that if you cut your arm off, no amount of meditation is going to make that pain go away for a while. So when we go through changes, our brain, it doesn't matter whether it's emotional pain or physical pain, it feels it in the same, experiences it in the same way. I came up with 5 principles to help remember about tragic accidents. One, aviation is incredibly safe, and it's our human nature to overemphasize rare events. That's what makes them interesting, is because they are so rare. That's why they receive such attention in the news media, because the news media in this day and age is out to make a profit, and that means to get your eyeballs on their headlines and stories. And so rare events are the first thing that people are attracted to. And again, the third thing is, remember that investigations take time, but safety improvements are constant. And what we will find out of this will be undoubtedly extremely important information. And I used Sully's accident where he had a double engine failure due to bird strikes. When the National Transportation Safety Board, who is not in charge of this investigation, but they are invited as a guest, what they came up with was 35 recommendations and findings from Sully's accident, only 5 of which had to do directly with something that related to his crash or his ending up in the Hudson River. The other 30 were industry-wide things of interest that helped us take another look at things that did not cause a crash, were not germane in that accident, but something that we needed to look at. And then try not to let speculation fuel you, and stay connected to us. We'll be doing an update on this for the next couple of weeks as the news becomes out, that those things that are important. And the last thing is, remember 2 things really, not only confirmation bias, how that amplifies your fear flying, but how your tendency is to want to look in there and make a mountain out of a molehill and find other things that seem to be related. Join us on Fearless Flight Live when I have 2 monitors, or when I learn how to manage with just the one there in the future. And you can watch us either on our Facebook page or YouTube Live. And with that, let's see, we've already talked about June 19th as our next event. I'm sure Dieter's got that link in the show notes there. And what else do we need to do? Any other questions, Dieter?
Yeah, so I just want to, first of all, Raquel's question, we're going to address. This is going to be the last question, but I also wanted to just acknowledge Monica's comment. Yeah, you're right. If you think about 146,000 parameters that black box records, it takes, like you said, and that's what Monica said, it can take years for all that information to be translated into meaningful, actionable kind of insights. And I have also heard that the pilot changed his position and indicated that something was activated that only occurs during power loss. And it's like Ron said, there are definitely some going theories about that out there.
It's called the ram air turbine, and we'll talk about that next week.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably what Monica is mentioning too. And then Amanda said, so when a report comes out with recommendations for change, are they mandatory and just be implemented, or just suggestions the airline and industry can implement if they choose?
Let me address that. So when recommendations come out, so the first thing that happens is, as soon as they get preliminary information, if you want to do yourself a favor, don't look at the news media unless it says something from the NTSB or the equivalent organization over there. But when they find things, so the first thing that they'll want to know is, was this an anomaly? In other words, did it only happen not only to this particular type of airplane, but it could have happened to any airplane, but a one-time deal. So that's the first thing. But what they're really looking for was this is an indication of a trend that could happen. And so if they find anything, you may see them talk to anybody who has a 737 or 787 in their fleet. And then if it has to do with something that was atmospheric or related to jet engines or something like that, then and certain manufacturers of engines or things like that, they will then pass that out to anybody who operates that type of equipment. Ultimately, to answer probably the answer you were looking for, if they come in the United States environment, and everybody, ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization, follows our lead over here. When they come out and they find something that needed to be changed on a particular airplane, they come out with an airworthiness directive, and that's like a recall on your car. And like on your car, it can be something that you need to do immediately before you drive it again. And you've seen those things. They grounded the entire fleet of Boeing 737 Maxes when they had those two accidents. So if it's something that requires everybody to look at that on a one-time basis, the airplane literally is grounded until that inspection is done, and then it's released to fly again. If they come out ultimately out of the overall investigation and they find out that there's an improved way, either a process in manufacturing or a different part or replacement part, something like that, they all have different implications with them. But the way that they are managed is the aircraft manufacturer, in this case Boeing, would come up with a fix, and it would be called an airworthiness directive. It doesn't mean that there will be. We have to wait and find out what went wrong. But an airworthiness directive is, again, it's like a recall, and you have to respond to that. You don't have any choice if you want to haul people for hire. So,
All right.
okay.
So last thing, Raquel, I hope you're still on. So Raquel wanted to know if we had any suggestions traveling with a 15-month-old. And I want to start by saying that when Rebecca and I just recently flew to Austria, we were on a flight. I don't know, it was a Thursday, flight, but there were probably in that section of the cabin where we found ourselves, probably about 8 or 9, I'd say, kids under 3. And so the
So
two
the
things
kindergarten
that,
nursery section.
sorry.
You were in the nursery section.
Yes, somehow I don't know how that happened, but so the two things that I can suggest to you right off the bat is, one, dress your little one in layers, right? Because the
Yeah.
temperature of
Very.
airplanes goes up and down, can go up and down quite, especially if you're a little one, getting hot or cold. And what's going to happen is lots of crying, right? So that's one thing. Dress in layers and undress and redress. And the other thing I highly recommend is some kind of earmuffs, because again, babies tend to respond to noise even more so than fearful flyers in that sense. And so if you have some kind of noise canceling or some kind of headphones that you can put on the little one, that will definitely be helpful as well. And the other thing that we found, we had little kids before and behind us, um, really eye contact and engagement with them is gonna go a long, long way. So all of these, if you've kind of paid attention, all of these are sensory inputs that you are managing, right? And that I would say is one of the best ways to give yourself and your little one the best flight experience that you can. Ron, do you have any?
And as an added benefit, sometimes if you have younger kids, they distract you. So maybe you need to rent some of the neighbors' kids if you don't have any, and that'll help you stay busy and distracted while you're flying. But I find that with moms with young kids is sometimes they are surprised that it does help them stay engaged, because the little kids don't care what's up with you. They want to know it's about me. So yeah, so those are good tips. Especially on a long flight. You got a lot constantly changing, and your circadian rhythm is all messed up and all that. So the kids suffer even more. So okay.
All right, last one, Monica. We're gonna address that question next time, maybe in more detail. But I don't even know. I mean, we could ask Nat. He's a pilot on bigger planes. Um, she's saying that people could have survived if they would have dumped the fuel, and I don't think there was any time to even.
No,
Um,
no, and
and
that would
there's probably
that,
rules too over.
no, that would have it's an idea, great idea, but that would not have made a significant difference.
Yeah.
They did not have any place to land when they hit, and that's the tragedy about it all. Now
Yeah,
to
and I
find out
don't
what went
think that
on.
physically they had enough time to
No,
even.
no, don't, no, no,
Yeah,
dumping takes way longer. And the only
yeah,
re we don't dump the airplane to crash. I mean, I suppose ultimately we dump fuel on the airplane so that we can avoid an overweight landing. And that's only if we had something like a flat tire or something like that, and we knew about it right after takeoff. And the 787 can dump fuel. The wide body airplanes can, but the narrow bodies like 737s and Airbus A320s, they don't dump fuel. They don't
yeah,
have the
but not at
capability.
the rate that would have made any
No,
significant
no,
difference.
no. We go into a holding pattern. It takes 20, 30, 40 minutes to get rid of that fuel. So anyway,
All right.
but keep thinking about it. So anyway, okay. Well, again, I'll apologize once more for the chaos here, and I hope you still got some useful benefit out of it. And please come back next week. Give us another chance, and I won't ever leave home again without my portable monitor. So anyway, I thought, oh, what can go wrong? Well, now we know what can. So anyway, it's way
We
easier
should we should
on
we should
airplanes.
next time we should bring up that cheese, that Swiss
Oh
cheese.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. The Swiss cheese model for accident prevention. So anyway, so thanks, Dieter. Thanks for holding the fort down, and thanks to all of you again. And we'll be back next week again for another episode of Fearless Flight Live. Have a great week, everybody. Happy landings and keep flying. Bye bye.